I really love Stranger Things. I binged the first season in 2 days because my wife and I started watching at 8 p.m. and decided that we needed to go to bed at 2. But I was already texting friends and telling them to watch it 3 episodes in. One of those texted reviews was so glowing that a friend of mine was driving down to my parents to hang out with my sisters when he got it. And then he got there and said, hey, he said that we should check this show out. And then they binged the whole series before he left. 2 is the weakest in my opinion and everyone's opinion, and that's mainly because of the 11 in Chicago episode. I actually skipped that one on my last rewatch, but I still like the season itself. The thing about Stranger Things is it is what more creators should be making. Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And what I mean by that is George Lucas loved Buck Rogers, but when he got older, he didn't want to make a Buck Rogers movie. Instead, he wanted to make his own take on Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers for the present day, but leaving Buck Rogers alone. He wanted to make a B-movie serial style movie without it being a B-movie serial. He wanted to take those concepts and make it into something better than it had ever been. So he made Star Wars and Indiana Jones. He also saw the movies that other people were making at the time, and he had the thought that, you know what, no one's making the movies that he loved as a kid and that inspired him to become a filmmaker in the first place. So why not make stuff that the kids of his era could love and be inspired by? Well, the Duffer Brothers are just a few years older than me, and they loved and were inspired by the same movies as me. Movies where foul-mouthed kids have insane adventures. Movies where supernatural and unexplained stuff happens inside of the real world. Movies that blend horror and action and comedy and mystery and adventure into one awesome package. And you know what? In 2016, no one was making any of those. Heck, no one's making them now. They're just making stuff set in the 80s. They always learn the wrong lesson. So did the Duffer Brothers remake E.T. or The Goonies or Ghostbuster or Firestarter or The Shining or The Sandlot or Poltergeist or Alien? No. They took all those things that they loved and reinvented and repurposed and evolved and shoved them together into the ultimate thing that they wanted to see as kids. And that's why I love it so much, and why a lot of us love it so much. There is nostalgia to it, but it's not Disney key-jangling nostalgia. It's people stopped making this thing that you loved, and now here's more of that thing finally. Anyway, none of that is the reason for this video, so let's talk about We're Back, a Dinosaur Story. I'm kidding. That will probably never happen. Although James Horner did do an exceptional job in it, but that's just expected. One thing that Stranger Things has done really well is expand the cast slowly with beloved characters. Mostly. There have been some misses. Max took some time to grow on most people. I have an issue with Billy that I think could have improved seasons 2 and 3, and I might make a video on that later. And don't even get me started on the Chicago cast. But season 4 made the risky decision to introduce a new lead character and not put him in the second episode at all, and then cut him out of the main group for most of the season while still making our concern for his safety one of the driving aspects of that season. Fortunately, the writers knew it was risky and smartly made episode 1's main goal make you love Eddie. And they pulled it off. Everyone loves Eddie. And they managed to do it in just 2 scenes and a half. 2 scenes. Before I give the writers too much credit, I do have to say that at least half of our love for Eddie comes from Joseph Quinn's just blinding charisma. There's a story I've heard repeated a couple of times that some producer saw Robert Redford walk across a room one day and said, that man is going to be a star. And I think we all felt very similarly about Joseph Quinn. But let's look at those 2 scenes. So we first see Eddie doing a pretty good Cronkite impression about the 80s societal scare about Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons. At first regarded as a harmless game of make-believe, now has both parents and psychologists concerned.
Then he proceeds to mock the different cliques of high school.
We're the freaks because we like to play a fantasy game. But as long as you're into band, science, parties, or a game where you toss balls into laundry baskets.
We just naturally find this endearing because we have a tendency in us as a species to admire people who don't care what other people think. But he's also pretty intense.
And even murder.
And seems kind of crazy. So we're not 100% sure how we feel about him at first. Then Mike and Dustin asked to postpone their D&D game, And he gets a little upset and starts another monologue. He picks on them, but it's in a way that neither character feels insulted or embarrassed.
You're wearing a Weird Al t-shirt, which I thought was brave. Thank you. Mike, you're wearing whatever your mommy bought you from the
Just, a little intimidated. It's very familiar, really like a big brother for two kids that don't have big brothers. Then he gets into why he feels that it's important for both of them to be devoted to his little Hellfire Club.
You boys, the future of Hellfire.
He tells them that he spotted them day one of high school, and he noticed that they were losers.
I knew it the moment I saw you. You sat on that table right over there, looking like two little lost sheep. And we showed you that school didn't have to be the worst years of your lives, right?
And losers need friends, especially in high school, so he intentionally pulled them into his group. But he and his friends are graduating that year, and to him it's important that that mindset continue.
Can I level with you? Jeff graduates this year. Garrett's got, what, a year and a half? Me, I am army crawling my way toward a D in Miss O'Donnell's. If I don't blow her final, I'm gonna walk that stage, snatch that diploma, and I'm gonna run like hell out of here.
He tells him that once he's gone, he's kind of counting on them to be responsible for finding outcasts and the friendless and give them friends.
But there are other little lost sheepies out there who need help, who need you. And all you guys gotta do is get your Bo Peeps on and go and find one.
He says it in a really blustering and brash way, but that is the subtext of what he's saying. And a guy in high school that looks out for the friendless is someone to be admired. What keeps us from noticing that simple bit of manipulation that the writers are pulling off is the fact that it is subtext. It's inferred so we don't see the pill in the sugar. Now we're intrigued by him, but he's got some rough edges. Like I said, he's a little crazy. This brings us to scene 2. Chrissy, the girl the song is about,
Chrissy, wake up! I don't like this!
is being attacked by Vecna, and she's so freaked out that she wants to try weed for the first time in her life to take away some of the panic that she's been dealing with. Eddie is a drug dealer in the 80s, so that's a strike against him. But he comes in and starts off as the gruff guy we saw him in the cafeteria, and we expect him to be kind of mean to her given his monologue about the different cliques, and she's a cheerleader. There's no way he would be friendly with her, right?
Just like any other old sale, except cash only, and for obvious reasons, no receipts. Hey, we don't need to do this. Just give me the word, I'll just walk away.
But then he sees that she's scared, and we get a different Eddie. He goes out of his way to make her laugh, and we know it's not because he cares what she thinks, but because she's scared, and he wants her to feel better.
I wouldn't remember me either, Chrissy. Honestly. I have stuff in my hair.
From the first scene, we kind of suspected that he had a good heart, but now we see it on full display. Now, what makes these two scenes brilliant is that this is kind of a trope that we see a lot. The grizzled, no-nonsense cop who plays dress-up with his little girl. We understand that they're the same person, just showing different aspects of their personalities for different people. That's just a common thing that people do. You're slightly different depending on who you're around. But movies usually do it inside of a whiplash kind of way. Guy beats up a murderer, so he looks all tough and scary, and then we see his soft side at his daughter's tea party, so we know that he's not just some barbarian. What Stranger Things did with Eddie was combine the two in both scenes. He's so exaggerated in the first scene that we know it's partially an act, and we see a hint of his good heart beneath the bravado. Then, with Chrissy, we prominently see the good heart, but he does it with the same bravado and theatricality. It's not two different people, it's the same personality both times, just focused differently. I won't go into scene 3, but if you really pay attention with this in mind, it becomes an even split between the fun, caring guy and the overbearing loudmouth. And that is why Eddie's introduction to Stranger Things is just about perfect. Well, you'll see me next time if you subscribe. Bye.